going on, guys? We are back. Hope everyone enjoyed their 4th of July weekend. It's Tuesday here. Gonna get right into it. All right, guys, trying to get right into it so I'm not boring you guys while talking. Trying to cut the talking down. So it's Tuesday morning. Ryan's under here right now. He is getting the clutch up and installed, all that good stuff. So I'm not really gonna video any of that. Nothing too crazy. Everything's still the same on the inside as we left it. Holes cut, blah, blah, blah. I'm gonna run over and show you guys what I'm working on right now for the cross member and what we got over the weekend. All right, guys, so I'm not sure if I showed you this in the last one, but I did work out a nice little bushing setup for the front here. You guys will see all that later. That's gonna get pulled off so we can get the trans up. It's the rest of the clutch. He's putting that on now. This is the new 68 RFE T-case, which bolts right up to the back of that. Same input and everything, so that's all good. Don't have to do anything. And the connector as well is the same, so yeah, shouldn't have any issues there. I did get this in the mail. This is going to be what kind of seals the cab off, so there's not just a hole with the shifter coming through. So we got that. This is our mount that's going to bolt up in the back. And then as you guys heard me talking about last week, I was waiting on some parts I designed from the laser. Very simple stuff. Show you what those are for in a minute. But these are basically plates, sit right here, and that's going to be what gets welded to our tubular cross member that's going to go. So that's going to be what this is going to sit on, bolt to. And then in between the frame where the big bolt goes through, this is basically what I'm going to use. It's just a piece of chromoly tubing. And then I have these that I designed the other day, had them sent to the laser and cut out. So I'll weld those on each side. Show you that. All right, guys, so this is what it looked like welded. I already knocked this one out this morning. Nothing too fancy. Basically just welding little end caps on. This is the bolt for the cross member from Gabe's truck. So basically that's just gonna go pop right through there. Get it through. It's a little bit hot, so, but anyway, that's pretty much going to get bolted right through the frame. And then this on one side, we'll have another one on the other side, and then we'll run our actual, like the actual cross member part will get welded to this. It'll come off, you know, trans will sit on it, blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to get the other one welded up. And then in between some of this, once he has the clutch in, I'm going to grab the trans, and we're going to get the trans up in there. And then the T-case, the stuff that I haven't put away yet that I got ordered that came in. For various Gabe stuff, and then I have some, just a nice, we use these, like, we just get like these assortments of nice metric bolts and stuff, so as we're working on the trucks, if we see a bolt that's, you know, not right, or we need a bolt, we have nice flange bolts. And got the battery for FSD4, and then some wire loom and stuff, but not going to worry about that too much. Basically, this is the indexing ring, same thing that he has on his, or for the ASIN, but this is for the 68, so it's going to clock his T-case down a little bit. So I want to get the T-case in before I do the cross member so that I actually know where the drive shaft's going to go, so I don't make the cross member come, say, like up like this, and then, you know, connect, and then next thing you know, the drive shaft won't fit through. So I want to get the T-case on and then finish the cross member and do all that. So he's going to finish up the clutch. I'm going to go and weld that other piece for the cross member, so that's at least ready to go. And then we're probably going to get the trans chucked in, indexing ring on the T-case, and then get the T-case in, and then I'm going to try to knock this cross member out. All right, guys, Ryan has the clutch in. Also had him pull a piece of the exhaust out, so it's easier to get the trans in. Just going to move these out of the way here, alignment tools in. So she'll be good to go there. Hopefully that's solid for us. I did make some dowels. When I do manuals, usually I'll, like, basically just a 3/8 bolt. I believe it's 3/8, like 4 inches long. Cut the heads off, thread them in, and it kind of helps guide the trans in a little bit. Usually just makes things a little bit easier. But anyway, clutch is in, guys. Didn't show you guys any of that. It's the same thing as any other, you know, dual disc clutch. This is a Valair dual disc. And basically the only difference is the flywheel itself, because the cranks on these trucks are 10-bolt cranks. It basically just has 10 bolts. I'm not sure in the actual design of it, like the symmetry of it, if it's different. I have no idea. I believe it's all the same. It's just machined out for 10 holes there. And it looks like, I talked to Dan at Valair this morning, and he said he thinks the starter's going to work. And right now it's not touching, so that's a good sign. So it looks like that's gonna work just fine. Don't have to change the starter or anything. I did just have to run out and get a clutch fork return spring, or retainer spring as some call it. So I'll show you guys that real quick, and then me and Ryan are gonna get under here and get this trans up, and we'll go from there. All right, guys, so we got the trans prep. Basically just pulled the shift tower off, and basically I just had to get this retainer spring here for the shift fork, but we're good to go on that. And then I did also have some time earlier to put this new indexing ring on the 68T case. So theoretically, we should throw this thing in there. It should bolt right up. This should bolt right up to that, and then I can, hold my drive shafts up and see if they need to be modified or not, and go from there. And then once it's in, I can bolt that back up, and then I can actually work on the actual shifter itself and all that. But pretty much the first thing is going to be getting the trans in, get this in and bolted up, and then I'm going to start pretty much making the cross member. It's going to hold the trans and everything up. So yeah, we're going to get to it, guys, and we'll keep you posted along the way. Alright guys, we just got the trans in. It's definitely a bit of a pain in the ass without a trans jack, but manage as always. So we'll go under there. I'll show you guys that quick, and then kind of show you guys what we're going to do next. Alright guys, so as you can see, she is up here. She's chilling. We did get it up there, and with just these blocks of wood and some ratchet straps, but I will tell you, it's kind of annoying how the bottom's not flat. So that was definitely a little bit of an inconvenience, but yeah, we got her up there. So really now I'm just gonna hook up the hydraulics, just to have the hydraulics hooked up, and then I'll go and show you guys up top. All right guys, so as you can see here, we got her, I just bolted the shift tower back on. Now you guys can kind of see how this is gonna work. So, and then you'll be able to push it forward and shift. So you guys saw in the previous video, I'm gonna have to modify the plate that's gonna bolt to the floor for that. I'm not really too worried about that right now. Actually, was just wrapping his seats because I have some dirt on my pants and don't want to get it too dirty. Although I'm probably gonna have this professionally detailed before it leaves here for Gabe, just because I've gotten it a bit dirty. So, but otherwise, guys, now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go up there and eat the T case up. Bolt that on, and then I'm going to probably reposition the jack, get the trans and everything level where it needs to be, and then I'm going to get going on the cross member to hold everything up. So I'm going to keep crunching on this, guys, and I'll keep you posted. All right, boys, we got a little bit of progress here. T-case is in, chilling up there. I put the mount on and I bolted the plate that I designed for the cross member. And then here, I don't know why I'm out of breath, kind of weird. And there, that is basically what we made earlier, which is what our tube is gonna connect to on each side, and then here. So I'm gonna get going on that, but I did just chuck the drive shaft in real quick. Just put one bolt in it. It's barely, I don't even know if it's like actually engaging on the, it is engaging on the thread, or the threads. The spline's a tiny bit, but yeah, as you can see. And then I'm going to open up the software that I use for designing roll cages and stuff, like what I do with the side-by-side. And basically what we're gonna do is design our cross member in the software first, and then we'll make it. So I'll kind of give you guys like a quick glimpse of like how I use the software. I'm not gonna get into like any sort of tutorial on it or like all that, because it's a lot to learn. But yeah, pretty much the software, I'll be able to design the actual piece in there, and then it'll pretty much show me it, and I can make adjustments to it, and then it'll tell me like how how long to cut the tube to, where to make the bends, how many degrees on each bend, blah, blah, blah. So it's really, really cool if you know how to use it. I got really, really good at it when I did the side-by-side cage, so very confident in that. The hardest part is actually getting your measurements to set the pick points. I'll show you guys what exactly that is here in a couple minutes. But yeah, just wanted to give you guys kind of an update of where we're at and how we're looking. Not too bad. So I'm probably going to pull this drive shaft back out before it probably pops out and hits me in the head. And then I'm going to open up the software and maybe start getting some measurements for this cross member and get that done. So stay tuned, guys. Appreciate you guys watching, and hope you guys enjoy. All right, guys, so this is a software I use called BendTech, and basically what it allows you to do is build roll cages, anything out of tube that you want, really. You can also do plates as well. It's like 2D stuff, but pretty much the main gist of it is you have like pick points, and that's pretty much like where in space what you're trying to connect is. So let me just open up my roll cage real quick and see if I can figure that out right here. Okay, so this is basically the cage for my side-by-side that I designed in here, and the pick points, let me change this. So these are all the pick points that I have involved in making my roll cage. So like pretty much, it's like playing connect the dots. So right here, that pick point is basically where the pillar plate gets bolted, and then like right back here, this is where the tube would run through, and like this pick point right here, there's a very, very slight bend. You can't really see it in here, but slight bend. But basically what we have to do is the biggest thing is getting our pick points set in here accurately. So like where is this pick point in relation to this pick point? Okay, so basically that is going to be from one side of Gabe's frame where those tubes are to the other side. So one pick point will be there, one pick point will be there, but we can't just go straight across because that would just be a straight line. So the next thing we'll have to do is run a pick point from where his tube is, where the tube's going to start, and it's got to go up, connect to our plate, which we're going to have to weld it to there, and then it's going to have to go over and then connect into the other piece. But we also have our front drive shaft, so we're going to have to come out, down a little bit, then up. So basically each bend, every change of an angle or a bend, you have to make a pick point. So I'll show you guys a little bit of how I measure that. It's really, really tedious, and it takes a good bit of time because you really have to make sure it's perfect, or else when you actually go to bend it, it won't fit to what you're trying to do. So I use like strings a lot, angle finders and stuff like that. So basically what I'm going to do is figure out how I want my tube run, and you're basically just going to imagine it as if it was, you know, you're putting a point at each bend or each change. So once we find those pick points, we can put them into here, and then it's literally as simple as just connecting a line. Let me just X this out real quick. So basically right here, so ceiling, that means you're going to go up. So you can go ceiling 5, that's 5 inches up, and then you can click the front box if you want and go 6. I'll close that. Go 6, so then that just went up 5 inches, and towards the front 6 inches. So then you hit apply, and then if you just tap left, or sorry, back, it'll change that 6 to back. So then you have 2 points that are both 5 inches up, and one is 6 inches towards the back, and one is 6 inches towards the front. Now notice that purple one keeps popping up. That's because I still have these put in here. So it's going to basically go up and 6 inches back to whatever point I'm on. So I'll just hit clear. But then pretty much we have these 2 points in space. Actually, let me add another one. I'll add 3, and we'll go front 15, hit apply, clear. So then we have these 3 points, right? So then we can go bend. There's one bend. Okay. And actually, there might not even be a bend in this. It might just be straight. Oh, yeah. Yeah, so it just did this weird ass. Let me see if that actually looks like... Yeah, that's pretty cool. Anyway, guys, you kind of get the point. it basically will just connect. It's basically like playing connect the dots. You just have to make sure your dots are in the right spot, because if they're not in the right spot, then you're going to go and bend all this tube and do all this work, and then it's not going to fit. So it's extremely important that you get the measurements for your pick points perfect. So I'm going to run back to the truck, guys, and kind of show you, after you guys heard that, kind of what we're looking for. I'm going to try to run back over that really quickly on the truck to show you exactly what I'm talking about. All right, guys, so we're back under here. Of course, the light is dying. Why would it not as soon as I start a video? These are our pieces that we made, just popped in here. They're not tight, obviously, but we have those on both sides. And basically, the first pick point is going to be wherever we want the tube to connect to here. And then I'll make another pick point wherever I want to connect the tube here. But obviously, we can't just run straight across, because it's not going to fit. It's got to come up and connect to this, and we need a little bit of clearance for the drive shaft here. So pretty much what I'm going to do is put a pick point here, right, and then I'm going to come down, probably put a pick point here where it'll start a bend, and then it's going to go up, be flat right across here, which is where this will get welded to, and then I'll probably put a pick point like right here, and then it'll come down and just connect right into there. So pretty much, guys, you just have to pretty much just put these points in space. So I'm going to measure pretty much from right here to right here, and at least get these 2 points done. And then from right here to right here, I'm just going to have to measure, okay, from this point, how far this way and how far down, how far this way or this way, and then that's where my point will go. And then I have to figure out from this point in space where this is, so that the tube can come up, run underneath it, so that I can weld that to that, and then I will brace it as well. And then I'll put another pick point where it's going to be a bend down to the last pick point, which is going to be right here. So I hope that kind of makes sense. I'm not going, obviously, too far into it. It's a lot to learn, but that's the general gist. You basically just have to figure out where in space everything is, and then once you figure that out and it has to be perfect, then you're good. So what I use a lot is like strings. So I'll probably use a string from like here to here, and then I'll measure, you know, how far front, back, left, right, up, down it is, and then boom, got that point, and then from that point you can go to here and find all that. It's kind of a pain in the ass. Well, it's a huge pain in the ass, but it saves you a lot of time, and it ensures like a really good fit, and allows you to kind of change and modify things along the way. So without further ado, guys, I'm gonna get in here and start getting these pick points inputted into there. Once I have the pick points, it's literally just click, 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 and then hit a button, and it'll make it a tube, and then it'll give me templates to notch it, to mate it up to this. It'll pretty much give me everything. I'll show you guys that later. But yeah, again, biggest thing is pick points, so I'm gonna go ahead and get going on that, and I'll show you guys along the way. All right, guys, so I just sat under here for a few minutes and got some pick points here. So basically 31.5 inches is going to be from here to here, straight across. So when I start, I'll pretty much divide 31.5 into 2. Can't do that math in my head, a little slow today. And then I'll basically put 1 point over here, 1 point over here. They'll be 31.5 inches away from each other. Really easy. And then basically driver's side, from starting at the driver's side to the passenger side, we need to go out 6 inches and then down 4 inches. So that's going to be out 6 inches and down 4 inches, which is going to give us a little bit of clearance for the drive shaft, right? And then I have another point out 12 inches that's at the same exact height. So that'll basically, we'll have a point here, and then we'll have the one 12 inches right here, and then we'll go straight across to over here. I actually looked at the height, and I think I just said, I was like, yeah, you can't just run it straight across. Honestly, the height is like perfect to go straight across and still have the tube hit right here. And another thing I'm just going to touch on, I really don't want to go too much into it, but when I do this in the tube, I'm measuring from halfway like down this tube right here. I'm not measuring from here to there. I'm measuring from here to halfway here, because the tube is going to need to be notched to actually fit up to it. So it actually needs to go halfway over this tube and halfway over that tube. So that's why, again, I'm not measuring from here to here. I'm measuring from here to here, if that makes sense. Because when you draw this stuff, like your pick point is going to actually be in the center of the tube. So if I put a pick point just right here, just pretend like it's sitting here in space, the tube would actually go through it like this, and the point would be in the middle. So we're using 1 5/8 tube, which is 1.625 inches. So we actually have to divide that in half to 0.81 inches. A little bit confusing for you guys who don't bend tube, but it's nothing to worry about. So anyway, guys, I'm going to go put these points into our BendTech software and then make the tube, and probably go back, double check everything real quick so I don't waste material, because after you bend something, guys, you can't unbend it. That's something you definitely learn pretty quickly when you get into tube bending. So I'm going to go get this drawn up, and we'll check it all out. If it's good, then we'll get the bender out and bend this sucker up and see how she goes. All right, guys, so I got our two pick points put in here. That's our 31.5 inches. It's 15.75. Basically started at this red dot, went 15.75 to the left, 15.75 to the right. So now we have our two outer pieces. Next thing was driver side to passenger side, 6 inches towards the passenger side and down 4 inches. So now we're going to click this point, and we're going to go 6 inches to the right, and we're going to go to the floor 4 inches. So see how that just put our point? We'll hit apply, clear, that clears that out. So now we have our point here. So the next point is driver side to passenger side, 12 inches, and we're keeping the same height as up here. So all we have to do is just click, oh, it's already clicked, so we just go to the right, 12, puts our point there. So now we have let me clear, 1, 2, 3, and 4, not using this one here. So that's going to be one bend, and that shouldn't be a bend. It might look like it in the software, because depending on where we're sitting like that. So we'll go bend, and we'll just hit 1, and then we'll click here, here, here. Oh, fuck that up. Bend. We'll hit 2. I guess there's 2 bends, my bad. I didn't think about that. 1, 2, and then over here. Okay, and then we can hit display, and then we have our tube. Alright, guys, so as you can see, we have this tube here. This is kind of what I was showing you guys before. When you make these pick points, it's actually, it goes like the pick point itself is in the center of the tube, so you have to always remember that. But the other thing that you're going to have is you can only bend, you know, we're using 1 5/8 chromoly tubing, and that's my 6-inch CLR die for my bender. So you can't bend that tube perfectly to that. So it basically just does the best it can. Which is exactly kind of what I accounted for. So I actually went farther down with the pick point, 4 inches, than I really need. But I knew that the radius wasn't going to be able to make that sharp bend. So that should be just perfect. But now you're saying, you're like, okay, well, how are we just going to, if we just do this, how are we going to connect this straight tube to our actual tube? This is where I was showing you guys before how I measured in the center of the tube, not the outside of the tube. And that is because what I'll do now is look at this pick point right here. All right, guys, so basically what I did was I just put 2 points on the sides of the main point, and basically what that's going to allow us to do is go to straight. We'll go here to here, and then we'll hit display, and then now you can see our tube is going in there. That's exactly why I measured halfway through on the truck, not right here, because we need this to actually be notched to actually have something to weld to. You can't just weld the tube straight to the other tube. And then basically you can go over here to cutting, and we'll make the cut. So we'll hit new cut, we'll hit this and that, and hit complete, and then basically it generates the cut. So you can see the blue line right there is where it's going to cut. Well, if I had a plasma cutter, I could send this to the plasma cutter and it would automatically notch that, but I do all these by hand because I don't have a plasma notcher. But the other cool thing that it'll do is it'll actually print off a template that you can print out and then tape that around the tube, and then it basically templates it out so that you can cut that. Still a pain in the ass because I do it with an angle grinder. Yeah, one day maybe I'll get a plasma notcher if I do more. But anyway, guys, that's pretty much like the quick gist of how exactly you guys use this Bendtech software. Yeah, it's pretty neat. It definitely is a very, very cool system. But again, if you guys haven't figured this out by now, if these points are just the slightest bit off, we might go to bend this right now, and who knows, I might have missed something, and this could like not fit. So you got to be really, really tedious with it. So anyway, guys, I'm going to draw this same thing on this side so I can generate the notch, and then basically what I'll do is get this thing bent out, and I'll also show you guys. It'll tell me how long to cut this tube to, where to bend it, how many degrees on each bend, and it'll also give me the weight for it as well, which is really cool. So I'll show you guys that. All right, guys, this is another cool feature it has in here. It actually will show you how to bend the tube you're going to bend. Well, let's do it really, really quickly. Basically, slow that down, maybe. Yeah, there we go. So it looks like we got a rotation in there. Pretty simple bend it looks like here, so that shouldn't be an issue. But basically what it does is it tells you, you know, bend one location 2 7/16, which that's going to be 2 7/16 from the end of the tube, and then it's going to be a 67-degree angle. And based off of previous bends I've done, there's a thing called spring angle, and basically when you bend these tubes, guys, they'll usually spring back. So if you bend it to 90 degrees on the bender, it's not usually going to be it's not going to be an actual true 90-degree bend. So usually I have to bend a little bit past because it'll kind of spring back. So that's a spring angle. I don't always follow it. That theoretically, in a perfect world, if I bent this to 70, it'll actually be 67. But I'll probably bend it to 67, pull the tube out, check it with the angle finder, see where I'm at. Because if you bend it too far, there's no unbending it, so you're screwed. But then anyway, as you can see, then there's the second bend. It's 10 3/4 inches from the bend. Rotation 180 degrees. That means you're going to rotate the tube 180 degrees. And then we have an angle of 34 degrees, spring angle of 40. So theoretically, again, if you bent it to 40, it should be 34. It's not always the case. So I'll probably bend this to like 37. And then see where we're at, and then just do little bits at a time. I don't like wasting material, so. But anyway, it also tells you up here, cut it to 32 5/8, so that's going to be the straight tube, what we're going to cut it to. It's going to weigh 3.26 pounds. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And then this is what our cross member is going to look like here, as you guys can see. So we got a little bit of a dip here for the drive shaft. Really wasn't too concerned about it. It looks like, honestly, it might clear if I just went straight across. But I figured I'd put it there, you know, just in case. You don't know if Gabe's going to be jumping his truck. Well, he's probably definitely going to be jumping it, so honestly. So I wanted to, you know, give stuff clearance and put a little bit more thought into things to make sure it's perfect for him. So anyway, guys, I'm going to get this tube cut now and print out the notch, whatever you want to call them, templates, and I'm going to get this sucker bent and notched, and then we're going to go see if our measurements and our pick points were right. If they're not right, then boom, you just junk that piece of tube. It sucks, but unfortunately, mistakes will happen. You know, I might go back there and bend this and it might be perfect. I might also come back on here in the video in a couple minutes and be like, guys, I freaking messed up this pick point. It was way off, blah, blah, blah. It happens. So we'll see how it goes, guys. And yeah, we'll keep you updated. I'm gonna get this sucker cut out and bent, and we'll go from there. All right, guys, so now we're going to stick the tube in the tube bender, and we're gonna get this bent. I'll show you guys pretty much how we set this up. So all right, so we'll get that in there, guys, and then basically this is our first bend. It's going to go to 67 degrees. So we need to slide this back until that line is right up with the die, which is gonna be right there. So that needs to go to 67 degrees. Another thing, guys, after we do the first bend, we have to rotate 180 degrees to do the second bend. All right, guys, next thing I'm gonna do, because this tube has to be rotated 180 degrees for a second bend, is I just clamp a piece of traction bar mount on here, put that on, and zero it. Helps if you hit the right button. So now we're zeroed, our line's up, so now we're gonna bend this to 67 degrees. So that's 67, I'm gonna go to 70. That's what the software said my spring back angle will be, we'll see. So we'll back it off. Right, so then basically what I'll do is I'll pull this out, kind of jam it so it stays in one spot, put it on, zero it, and then we'll put it up here. So that's at 62.4 degrees, so we need to get to 67. We bent it to 70, so I'll probably go to 72 and then see what that does. I know if you think about it, you're like, oh, well, if you bent to 70 and we went to 62, you need to go farther. But I've done that before, and I've also overbent stuff and had to throw material away. So we'll put this back in real quick, and we're gonna bend it to probably 72, 73 to see what that brings us. All right, guys, so we're at 64.2, 64, right around there. So I'll go to 75 now. I think the reason why this is so far off is because there's not a lot of tubes sticking out the other end. This part of the tube is like just barely in here, so I think it's requiring a bit more bend because it's kind of using some of this slack in here. So we'll bend that to 76 now and see what that brings us. All right, guys, so that did it. We're right around 67.2, 67.1. So that's good. Now we're gonna do our 180 degree rotation, and then we're gonna bend the next one, which is gonna go to 34 degrees. All right, guys, so first impressions, not too bad. As you can see, it's too long over here. But we haven't notched it yet. So you guys got to remember, we got to notch this end to fit into here, notch this end to fit into here. So I don't think we're looking too bad, honestly. Once this, goes up and connects to that, we should be pretty freaking good. And I have this trans up a tiny bit higher so that I can actually fit this tube in. So yeah, we should be able to get this up there, and this should kind of sit right on top, and hopefully we should be good to go. But otherwise, it looks really good. All tacked up, at least this end and that end. Now what we're going to do is just mark pretty much where we are going to weld this plate to, which is going to be right here. So we're going to mark that. And then we'll pull everything off. We'll get it all fully welded, and she should be good to go. All right, guys, we got the cross member in all welded up. Fits great. There's one thing I'm gonna do once we're all done, and it's gonna be basically with these. I'm gonna round those off, or probably just round them, and then I'm gonna switch cups so I can extend my tungsten out, and then I'll be able to actually get these gaps all up in here. But otherwise, looks really good. Got a nice little cutout for the front drive shaft. Yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. What I'm gonna do next is I have the rear drive shaft already measured. That's in my truck. I gotta get the front drive shaft off there, and then just double check the length on here. And then I'm gonna go to the drive shaft shop tomorrow, and drop those off to have those modified. Otherwise, everything else under here is pretty much done. I'm going to put the drive shafts in, just leaving all the wires and stuff hanging for now. But the hydraulics are hooked up. So the next thing that we're going to have to move on to, so I'm going to grab my light. So the next thing we're going to move on to, we're probably going to do this in a separate video. I'll end this one because it's probably a bit long. But the next thing is going to be making up all the linkage and the actual shifter itself, and then modifying the console and all that to fit, which is probably going to be pretty tedious. Yeah, that's going to be the next thing. All right, guys, that is going to be the end of this video. We're going to finish up the next bit of stuff in the next video here. Just kind of wanted to end it. I know this is probably going to be a pretty long video with the bending and stuff in there, so I don't want to make it too long and too boring. But anyway, guys, the trans is in, hydraulics are hooked up, pedals hooked up, T-case is on, it's all ready to go. Drive shafts will be at the drive shaft shop tomorrow getting modified. So otherwise, everything underneath is pretty much done. In the next video, again, we're going to move up into the cab, and then we're going to start modifying the console, coming up with plans for that, and then actually making the shifter and all the linkage for that as well. So we're getting pretty close, guys. Appreciate you watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.